It's Jack Kolars.
Hello, this is Arnold Schwarzenegger. Season greetings and best wishes for a joyous holiday.
On KTOE.
It's Santa Claus on the Kolars Conversation with Jack and Dusty. Well, boys and girls aged 9 to 92, the time has arrived here on the interview to make our connections with the North Pole and hook up with Santa Claus before he and his elves pack those reindeer sleighs for tonight's delivery of toys and gifts throughout the world. Dusty, have you made the connection yet?
Well, Jack, there were a couple meteor showers up at the North Pole this morning. And, because of global warming, some of the satellites on the glaciers out there melted into the ocean. But, yes, we have secured communication with Santa through a special link known as the Jolly Spirit.
The Jolly Spirit, you say. What a great name. Nice work, Dusty. As always, you come through to make this show the success that it has become. We appreciate your work and hope Santa brings you peace and happiness this holiday season.
Well, thank you, Jack. I did ask Santa for a new iPhone already and a pony when we made that connection earlier this afternoon.
Well, very good.
Ho! That's right, Jack. That young Dusty got his order in early for an iPhone. And our elves are working on a custom John Cena skin, so hopefully we get it taken care of before we take off after the show. He's a crafty one, that young Dusty.
Well, Santa, great to hear your voice. He's with us, kids. Santa Claus speaking live through the Jolly Spirit communication link.
Hello, everyone. Are you ready for some Monday night Christmas Eve? Sure hope the NFL doesn't mind me taking exposure away from them. The NFL is a needy group, you know. Last year they asked me to sprinkle some magic dust on the heads of Minnesota legislators to make them vote for the new billion-dollar stadium for your Vikings. Apparently it worked! You know, as Santa Claus, I do what I can. And that $500,000 donation for reindeer feed from the NFL did come in handy up here in the North Pole.
Interesting revelation there, Santa. Well, thanks for the scoop on that. Say, before we get to the notes and letters from kids, Dusty was telling me that your scout elves had some trouble with their GPS units around the Mankato area this year. Dusty, what was the problem there?
Well, when I was putting the order in for that iPhone and the pony from Santa earlier, since I knew you weren't giving any gifts again this year, I was talking to the head elf, and he said Santa's scout sleigh was going round and round in circles in the Mankato area early this month, apparently because of all those roundabouts they built.
You got that right, Dusty. The scout elves were running preliminary flights in the Mankato and North Mankato area using their GPS. They kept going round in circles, unable to get into the neighborhoods where all the kids live. After a while, we finally got in touch with the MnDOT office, and they explained that roads going around in circles were actually roundabouts. They actually lead somewhere. Before we got that news, Santa's scout elves were getting pretty dizzy.
Well, we're glad you're back on track, Santa, because thousands of children and their families listening to the show right now are hoping that you have a safe flight tonight. Shall we get started? Here's our first note for Santa. This one comes from Mitt in Massachusetts, and it reads like this. Dear Santa, can we have another presidential election? I promise not to call 47% of Americans moochers, and I will save Big Bird too.
Well, Mitt, no. You had your chance. And please, stop taking $70,000 tax deductions on your wife's dancing horse. And for crying out loud, don't tie your dog to the top of your car when heading to your vacation homes. There are many boys and girls asking for puppies this Christmas.
Well, Santa, here's another note for you. This comes special delivery from Barack in Washington, D.C. It reads as follows. Dear Santa, thanks for convincing the Latinos, poor people, young college students, and women for voting for me. I won't let them down.
You better not, Mr. Obama. This is your last chance at the presidency, unless, of course, the Tea Party is right, and you are rewriting the Constitution to allow a third term.
Well, let's get away from the political drama here, Santa, and focus on what our kids in southern Minnesota are thinking about this Christmas Eve, okay? Here's a letter from Abigail, 6 years old. She lives in North Mankato, and she writes this. Dear Santa, we learned in school this year that many kids throughout the country don't get any toys at all. How about if you give my gifts to other kids tonight? Thanks, Santa, signed Abigail.
Well, thanks, Abigail. So glad to hear that our schools are sharing the idea that not everyone among us is fortunate enough to have food, shelter, and even Christmas gifts. You are a very special girl, Abigail, and your gift this year is your love for the less fortunate people.
That is very nice. Isn't that great? I got another note for Santa here, Jack. This one comes from Timmy on North 4th Street in Mankato, and it says, Dear Santa, my little sister Tammy got a talking doll last year, but her friends made fun of it and made her feel bad. Tammy stopped playing with the doll just 3 weeks after Christmas last year. What should we do with that talking doll?
Well, thanks so much for your note, Timmy. We hear stories like this all the time up here at the North Pole. When some kids make fun of other kids' toys, mostly we find it's because they're jealous that they didn't get that toy. You can be a good brother to your sister by talking to your mom and dad and asking them to keep the doll in a safe place for your sister. She will appreciate it in the future.
Here's another note to Santa written by Sarah's mother. It reads, Dear Santa, I have noticed many parallels between you and Jesus. Both you and Jesus judge good and bad deeds of people. You live on the North Pole, and Jesus lives in heaven, so both of you can watch over all of us here on earth. You have elves helping you out, just like Jesus has his apostles. Letters to Santa are just like prayers to Jesus, and milk and cookies left for you are communicating with Santa through food, just like the bread and wine of communion. Your thoughts?
Ho, ho, holy! Well, Sarah's mother, you have been busy, haven't you? And we appreciate that note. But remember, we at the North Pole live in a pure, white, mythical vantage point. Jesus is everywhere. We make toys and gifts, and Jesus is the reason for the season. And while I may like milk and cookies, communion at church with your family is much better for you. So make sure you attend your services over Christmas.
It's Jack Kolars.
You're a holiday.
Hi, we're the Bee Gees. Make it a holiday to remember this year. Don't drink and drive.
On KTOE.
Well, I just have a few more minutes, guys. Any more notes from the kids?
Well, Santa, we got another one here for you. And again, thanks for that iPhone and the pony that your head elf promised me. It'll allow me to make my texting thumbs even stronger to keep up with the rest of the youthful population around the world. Then we can pass up the old folks like Jack here. But anyway, here's a note from Cletus and Colette in Cleveland. Dear Santa, how can your reindeer fly so high in the sky?
I can't tell you how often we get that question, but thanks for asking. Santa and his elves train the reindeer all year long, but they don't start to fly until just before Thanksgiving. All of my reindeer are girls. Did you know that? because female reindeer keep their antlers longer than males do. But back to your question about how Santa's reindeer go so high. We give them special feed up here at the North Pole, sprinkled with magical popcorn made by Angie's Kettle Corn, right there in North Mankato. That's our latest ingredient to make the reindeer fly so well on Christmas Eve. It's called Peppermint Stick Chocolate Holly Drizzle from Angie's Kettle Corn.
And you know what? Santa brought us a bag today, Dusty, for after the show. Here it is.
Beautiful.
It's Jack Kolars
Hi, this is Bill Cosby. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
on KTOE.
And now we are back with more Letters to Santa here on the Kolars Conversation.
Ho, 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 ho! Let's go!
Here we go, Santa. This note to Santa came via email from 3-year-old Asher, who says this. Santa, I would like a race car, a real Finding Nemo, and my baby sister Paisley wants a baby doll named Sally and probably a truck, too. Merry Christmas, Santa.
Well, Asher, that's a pretty good note for a 3-year-old boy. Let me check Santa's toy bag here. Yes, I believe we have a race car here, a real Finding Nemo, along with a doll named Sally and a truck for your sister. Keep being a good boy, Asher, and Merry Christmas to you too. Ho, ho, ho!
Well, Santa, you must have a pretty big sleigh. In fact, Aiden, a 6-year-old from Madison Lake, he wants to know how big your sleigh really is. It must be huge.
Well, young Dusty and 6-year-old Aiden in Madison Lake, here's the answer about my sleigh. You may have heard that my sleigh is pulled by 8 tiny reindeer. So it can't be that big, right? I've got news for you. Those 8 tiny reindeer are very, very strong and can even pull a large jumbo jet. So we fill all the toys in the sleigh and make stops at the homes of all the good little girls and boys.
Isn't that amazing? Did you know that, Dusty?
A jumbo jet.
It's like that.
Man.
It's magical. That's what Christmas is all about. And in a moment, we're going to hear some audio messages from our listeners to Santa.
It's Jack Kolars
Hi, this is Bob Vila, hoping you build yourself a merry little Christmas and enjoy an improved New Year.
on KTOE.
Let's hear those audio messages, Jack.
Okay, Santa Claus, anything you say. Here we go. What is it that you want for Christmas?
I want an iPod Touch. You can play games and you can play music on it too.
And what else would you like besides an iPod Touch?
I don't know. A video recorder? I want my own volleyball and maybe some knee pads. And a volleyball.
Is there anything else that you want to say to Santa?
There'll be cookies at my house. And milk. Chocolate milk.
Well, that little girl sure has some good ideas. It sounds like she's going to be a star athlete and maybe some sort of social medialite. And I love cookies.
Well, guess what, Santa? Here's that little girl's sister and see what she's saying.
I want a new bike.
What color?
Turquoise.
Turquoise bike? 2-wheelers or 4?
2.
Oh. You don't need training wheels anymore?
I want turquoise and sparkles.
Anything else?
A leotard.
For dancing?
Gymnastics. I want like 3 of them.
You already have them.
Yeah, but they're getting too small for me.
Well, that girl certainly knows what she wants. A turquoise bike, she says, huh? And leotards for gymnastics. Well, I'll definitely see if I can make that happen.
Well, guys, another girl sent us an audio message. It sounds like she doubts Santa is even real. Listen to this.
Me and my class made notes for Santa. My teacher said that we would give them to Santa, but I thought at conferences my teacher would just give it to my mom and dad.
Well, that's a little discerning. Not everyone believes in Santa Claus, and that's okay. But let me say this. It's always better to give than receive.
And Santa, we have another audio message where 2 sisters are talking about giving gifts this year. Let's listen to them.
Mommy's going to have some candles.
From Yankee Candle.
And Daddy maybe a new basketball.
And his slippers are growing old too, like actually falling apart.
So new slippers too.
Ho, ho, ho! I have holes in my slippers too. But Mrs. Claus promised to knit me some new slippers while I am out giving gifts tonight. I can't wait to try those slippers on. They are sure to keep my feet warm this winter. It's always cold up there at the North Pole. Well, that's all the time we have, kids. Thanks for being so good this year. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.